June 8. 68. Claudius Domitius Nero, Emperor of Rome, destroyed himself at the age of 32, and the 14th of his dominion. He had committed every enormity, and finding himself at last the inevitable victim of a conspiracy, he was doomed to see his own grave prepared, and died with his eyes standing out of his head, to the terror of all that beheld him. 1042. Hardicanute died at a nuptial feast of a Danish lord. By his death the connection between the kingdoms of England and Denmark was severed. 1316. Louis X Hutin, King of Navarre, died, aged 26. During his short reign the Jews were protected and encouraged in his dominions. 1376. Edward, Prince of Wales, called the Black Prince from the color of his armor, died, aged 46. He distinguished himself as a warrior under his father Edward III in the war with France, in several famous battles, and was the idol of the nation. 1405. Archbishop Scrope beheaded at York, England, for insurrection. 1536. Henry VIII's new parliament passed an act of attainder against Anne Boleyn, and declared both divorces legal, and the issue illegitimate. 1590. Thomas Randolph, an English diplomatist under Elizabeth, died. He wrote an account of his embassy in Russia, 1568, which may be found in Hakluyt's Voyages. 1683. John Durrell, an eminent English divine, died. His writings are chiefly controversial. 1692. Henry Arnauld, a French ecclesiastic, died. He was nearly half a century Bishop of Angers, and devoted himself incessantly to the duties of his office. 1695. Christian Huygens, a celebrated Dutch mathematician, died. He made several astronomical discoveries, and improved the air pump. His works comprise 6 volumes. 4-2. 1709. Paper money first authorized and issued in New York. 1711. Catherine Lascaux, daughter of the celebrated Holland printer, James Lascaux, who herself was so famed as a poet, as to be called the Dutch Sappho, or the 10th Muse, died in Holland. 1714. The Princess Sophia died, 4th daughter of the King of Bohemia by Elizabeth, only daughter of James I of England. She was the mother of George I. 1727. Augustus Hermann Frank died, professor of Oriental languages and of divinity at Halle, and distinguished for his learning and piety. 1747. Thamuz Koyuli Khan, the Persian conqueror, assassinated. He rose from the humble rank of a shepherd boy, to be the captain of a band of robbers, which in time became sufficiently formidable to place him on the throne of Persia. He extended his conquests into India, and overran some of its richest provinces. 1755. Action off Newfoundland, between the British ship Dunkirk, 60 guns, and 420 men and boys, and the French ship Alcide, 64 guns, 700 men. The Alcide struck in about 30 minutes. The slaughter on board of her was very great, the first broadside killing 47 men and officers. The governor of Louisbourg and 4 officers of note were taken, and £30,000. 1764. William Pulteney, an English statesman, died. He was many years the friend of Walpole, finally opposed his measures and was disgraced. He continued his opposition with so much zeal and spirit, that Walpole was in turn disgraced, and himself rose in his place. 1768. Abby John Wick Hellman, a celebrated German antiquary, assassinated at Trieste. He was the son of a shoemaker, and sometime engaged in the same business himself. His labors were indefatigable, and his works possess great merit. 1768. Andrew Miller, the most distinguished bookseller of his times, died in London. Drive Johnson said he had raised the price of literature. 1776. Unsuccessful attempt of 800 Americans to surprise the British at the village of Trois-Rivières, Canada. 200 were taken prisoners. Same day the Americans, under call to us, burned St. Anne's, on the St. Lawrence. 1781. A reinforcement of 1,500 French troops landed at Boston, and marched to join Rochambeau at White Plains. 1782. Hyder Ali surrounded and cut off the advanced body of the British Army under Sir Eyre. 1788. £1,340,000 voted on motion of Mr. Pitt for the benefit of American loyalists. 1793. British order in council to capture vessels bound to France with cornmeal or flour, the cargoes to be paid for. 1794. Festival in Paris dedicated to the Supreme Being. 1794. Corsica united to England. 1794. Gottfried Augustus Berger, a German poet, died, aged 46. 1795. Louis XVII le Dauphin, died. The unhappy prince was put in charge of a wretch, on the execution of his father, by the name of Simon, a cobbler, with the instructions that he was to be got rid of. Accordingly, by the most severe treatment, by beating, cold vigils, fasts, and ill usage of every kind, he sank to the grave. 1806. George Wythe, a signer from Virginia, died, aged 81. He was a learned and upright man. 1807. Battle of Gstaad, in which the French under Bonaparte defeated 10,000 Russian cavalry, and 15,000 infantry, taking 1,000 prisoners. 1809. Thomas Paine, a political writer of great force during the Revolution, died, aged 72. His writings were deemed of so much service that the legislature of Pennsylvania voted him £500, and New York made him a grant of land. His life and conduct subsequently was extremely imprudent and reprehensible. 1809. Battle of Viga. The French, 8,000, under Ney, attacked 12,000 Spaniards under Carrera, and were repulsed. 1810. Maquienza, in Oregon, surrendered to the French under Suchet. This terminated the fourth campaign in the north of Spain. 1811. Extraordinary agitation of the sea and earthquake at Cape Town. 1813. Americans under General Lewis broke up their encampment by order of General Dearborn, and returned to Fort George. The British succeeded in dispersing the boats with the baggage belonging to his command, and captured 12 of them. 1832. The first case of cholera asphyxia in America occurred on this day at Quebec. 1838. John Lusk, a soldier of the Revolution, died, aged 104 years. He was born on Staten Island, of Dutch parentage, and was a soldier in the regular service. Nearly 60 years. He died in Warren County, Tennessee, and was the last survivor of the old French War in Canada. 1842. Henry Brooke Parnell, famed as a political writer and liberalist, died by his own hand. 1842. James Barber, a distinguished American statesman, died in Orange County, Virginia. 1844. James Wadsworth, a distinguished and wealthy citizen of Western New York, died at Geneseo. 1845. Andrew Jackson, an American general and statesman, died, aged 78. He was the 7th President of the United States. 1854. George H. Talcott, a captain of ordnance in the United States Army, died at Indian Springs, aged 43. He was a native of Maryland, and graduated at West Point. In 1831. 1856. Henry Ware Wales, an American linguist, died at Paris, aged 37, bequeathing a large and valuable library to Harvard College. 1857. Douglas Jerrold, an English dramatist and journalist, died, aged 54. He was an extraordinary genius, and contributed to almost every department of literature.